Oliver Pichwan Luthier here, and today we're going to prepare the fretboard that we were working on yesterday for putting on the bindings. And we had glued on this little piece of ebony on this end here that goes near the sound hole, and I just took it out of the clamps, and now we're going to have to make this so it's flush on the edges here of the fretboard, the side here, and also the top and the bottom before we glue the bindings on. So I'm going to show you how I do that, because obviously I want to get this flush, but I don't want to take down any of the surfaces of the fretboard. So there's a trick to doing that, which is really simple, which is that I use a piece of paper and I put it on the fretboard, and I have a block which is absolutely flat here, and I've glued onto it a couple of pieces of sandpaper. I've got 220 grit on this side and 120 grit on this side. So if I put that paper there and then lay the block on top of that paper, I'm going to be able to sand that end of the fretboard, and the paper is just going to slide under this end, so this end is not going to take anything off of the fretboard at all, and that way we can get it flush. I'm going to put a little clamp on this end here so it doesn't skid around on me. Turn this paper this way. And we're just about there. I've cut this piece oversized, that binding that's going on the tail of this here. So we've got that now, so it's perfectly flush. I'll turn it over and do the other side. This is a nice trick with a piece of paper, so you can just take it down to where you want without sanding the rest of it. A little bit more. It's just about there. Yep, that's got it. So we've got that part, and you can see how nice that came out with that little binding. And the ebony is oversized, so we're going to be able to trim this more, and probably just do it by hand with a rasp or something like that. I find that I save this ebony dust and I put it in a little jar, so if I'm doing inlay and things, I can use it to fill in around an inlay if I need to. So on this piece here, I'm going to just put this in here like this. I'm going to put this little block here to keep myself from skidding around. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the on this board here. So I have it so it's perfectly flat, but you see I don't want to sand off that end. So once again, I'm going to put that piece of paper in here like this. I'll just hold on to it, and that way I won't sand anything off of the edge of the board, just on this end here. That's proud of the you can hear it when it's there. It makes a different sound. And so there, see, we have that there so that it's perfectly flush there. Now I'll do this other side. Okay, you can hear it when it hits that point where it's just perfectly flush. So that, we got those parallel. This one I feel just a slight bit more. There it is. Okay, so we've got that, and you can see that was pretty quick work. Now, when we look at the bindings that we're going to put on this, the way I've made those is I take a piece of ebony like this, and I have, and it's 1/4 of an inch thick, and then I've glued a piece of maple veneer onto one side of it like this, and this piece can be ripped further into being bindings for a body of another instrument, or in this case, what I did was I ripped 2 pieces off of it, and which I have here. I ripped these 2 pieces off of it, and these pieces are going to go on the sides of the fretboard like this. But what I've noticed is that if I do it like this, that piece of maple is going to extend beyond my little part there, and I don't want it to. I want the maple to just end right at that other maple, so that it just goes around like a purfling, and the maple will be, the ebony rather, will be dark all the way across. So what I've done is I've just cut with a very sharp chisel across the maple, and then trimmed that piece of maple out of there, and then glued on a little piece of ebony in there. So now what we need to do is get that ebony so it's nice and flat. Here's the other one. So I've got these 2 pieces here, and I'm going to put them side by side so I can do them both at the same time. And the reason that I want to do them both at the same time is so that if I do one at a time, it's going to be hard to keep my sanding block flat on that little edge. But if I have 2 of them in here set slightly apart, then it becomes much easier to hold that plane. So I'll clamp those down, and I'll take my piece of paper here, and then I'll do the same thing that I did to the edges of the fretboard into the top and bottom of the fretboard. You can see that ebony is coming down. It's almost there already. Okay, this one's about there. That one's a little proud, so I'm just going to put a little more pressure on this side. Okay, there we go. So now that we've got those, shouldn't have done that. I meant to do the clamp, not the box. We're going to take these, and I'm going to glue this onto the side of this. But before we do that, before we glue these on, we're going to have to make sure that we don't get any glue in the slots. And so there's a trick to doing that too. And the way I do it is I use a piece of 3/4 inch masking of my yellow tape here that I have. And what I'm going to do is fold it over so that 1/3 of it is, I'm folding it over to 1/3 like this. It's a little time consuming, all of this, but it sure saves a lot of work cleaning up later, because if you have glue in your fret slot, that can really be something to hold you back. Take a lot of time to clean up, and I want all my fretting to be positive. So anyway, I take that, and then I take the other third and I fold it over the top like this. It helps having more fingers. And then I take a pair of scissors, and I have a sharp razor blade. I'm going to make sure I've got a nice square cut. I got a little sawdust on that end of that tape, so that's not going to work, so I'll just cut it off. And then what I do is I set this in the fret slot. I found that if this is makes it basically 3 pieces thick, have it flush on that side like that right there. And then I just take the razor blade and I just make a little slit there like that, which marks it for me. And then I just cut it right there, nice and square across, and I put that in there like that. And then we just do this all the way up the fretboard. And once these are all in place, then I can glue the bindings on the sides without worry of getting glue in the fret slots. And I have cut that piece of binding so it's just slightly wider than this is thick, so that I'll do the same thing. I can sand it down so that it comes out nice and flush like this on all the way around. And then once those are on and they extend beyond, then I can do my finished trimming. And since these are also wider, these bindings, than this, I can plane them down to the finished size of my fretboard. So I'll continue doing this, and then I'll glue those on, and then we'll go from the next step from there. Hope you enjoyed this. If you have questions or comments, please leave them below. And like my video if you'd like. It helps my channel quite a bit if you do that. Thank you.